This is Satsop Washington. Most of the area is made up of thick forests and rich farmland. But now the land has been dramatically changed to make way for two of the largest nuclear power plants in America. They are being built by the Washington Public Power Supply System, known as WPS. Marianne, can you tell us a little bit about WPS, please?
Yes, the supply system is a joint operating agency of the state of Washington, and it's composed of 19 public utility districts and 3 municipal power
Suppliers.
Suppliers, thank you. The supply system was organized to provide power, to build plants that the small districts could not build for themselves.
Okay, now there are 2 reactors being built here. Can you tell us a little bit about them, what's going to be planned?
Yes, there are 2 reactors, the number 3 Washington Public Power number 3 and the Washington Public Power number 5. The supply system owns 70% of the number 3 reactor and 90% of the number 5 plant. Private power companies own the other percentages, and they will produce 1,240 megawatts of power each. The supply system received a limited work authorization in April of 1977. Prior to that time, they had done surveying, and that's sort of temporary work only. And the construction permit was granted in April of '78. At that time, the major construction could start.
I see. And when is it slated to be completed?
The number 3 reactor is slated to be completed in '84, and the number 5 in '85.
Where is the power from this plant going to go?
Each of the plants has what's called participants. Those are various public entities, such as public utility districts, irrigation districts, this sort of thing, who have agreed to purchase percentages.
And is most of this power meant to be in Washington State?
The majority of it, yes. Some will go into Oregon, a small amount into Idaho, and there's 1 participant in Northern California.
Okay, one of the big issues with nuclear reactors is the waste that they produce and waste storage. Where is the waste going to be stored on the site?
Initial storage will be on the site in water pools. The final storage is to be determined by the federal government, and no decision has been reached by the government.
Is there any idea when that decision will be made?
Yes, I'm sure there is. I think it seems to me that I've been told within about 5 years this decision will be reached.
What is the estimated life of the plant?
The plants are given, for verbiage sake, a 35 to 40 year life. This terminology is determined because that is the amortization time of the plants. In actual fact, they can go on producing electricity much longer than that.
How many people will be employed in the construction of the site?
In the construction, 3,500 at the peak, which is estimated in about 1981.
And when the plant is operating, how many people will be working
about
here?
About 225 to 250.
Now, this weekend there's going to be a demonstration here.
Yes.
And WPS has filed for an injunction on the demonstrators. What kind of concerns does WPS have, and what kind of threat does WPS think this demonstration might be?
Concerns are for the safety of the people. We are willing for people to see the work as you are now, but we like for this to be on a conducted basis so that there is safety always uppermost. And of course the supply system has concern that the plant be constructed within the time schedule and within the cost that is set for it. And of course delays aggravate both of those things. As far as threat, no, I don't think that there is any view of it as a threat. We recognize that everyone has a right to his belief, to his feeling. We simply want work not to be interrupted.
Do you think there's any possibility that these mass demonstrations that are going around the country will stop these plants?
Do you want my personal view? I certainly could not speak for the supply system in that. My personal opinion is that no, I don't think so. I think the power is too much needed.
I'm here with James DeRee, who is an attorney from Westport, Washington. What brings you here today, James?
Well, of course, down here we've been fighting nuclear reactors for almost 7 years.
Tell me, with all this activity and with some of the successes that you've had so far, what do you think are the most cogent arguments against nuclear power?
Well, of course, first place, nuclear power is not proven to be an economic source of electricity. It is the most expensive way to generate electricity there is. Now, that's apart from the dangers. The plants cost astronomical sums. The plants cost astronomical sums to build. They cost astronomical sums to repair. I've got speeches by Louis Rodas, who was formerly president of Consolidated Edison in New York. He tells about one split pipe in Indian Head number 2, and it cost them better than $1.5 million to repair that split pipe in 6 months downtime. In a coal-fired plant would cost $32,000 and maybe down 2 weeks, because you can't send the welders back in there for only about a minute, because they use up a year's time as far as radiation exposure. And of course they work very badly. Now, when a plant shuts down, the interest rates go on. And of course there's only one way to get it, is to up the consumers' rates so that they are constantly paying for plants that really aren't furnishing any electricity. Now, that's just from the economic standpoint. Of course, I have real objections to nuclear reactors because, first, there is dangers from low-level radiation. Any increase of radiation is dangerous. It can cause genetic damage, or break in the chromosomes. It can cause you to get leukemia, and the statistics are coming out now. The low-level radiation is causing increased cancer rate in the plant employees. It's causing increased cancer rate in the surrounding areas. This state has one of the highest cancer rates in the United States, state of Washington.
Really? And of course it has one of the highest investments in nuclear power
That's
as well.
right. That's right. This struggle over nuclear power is probably the struggle of our time. And of course, anyone, I think that when you talk seriously to someone who is pro-nuclear, if they're even halfway honest, they admit that there are very, very serious problems that even have moral implications. For example, I don't think it is right that my generation, in order to have the electric lights turn on, should create literally tens of millions of gallons of radioactive waste that will be around to poison future generations for 250,000 years. Even if it worked good, there would be that question, and of course the matter is, it works very badly. The nuclear reactor industry right now is barely alive. Even James Schlesinger, who is an advocate, admitted that the other day in Congress. Now, of course, down here, that doesn't mean it'll solve our problems down here, because this Whoops outfit issues these bonds, and as long as they'll sell the bonds, they're going to blow money like it was going out of style, and they're doing it down here.
Who's investing in nuclear on these bonds?
Well, of course, Whoops, the Washington Public Power Supply System, is a kind of a socialistic holding company. It has no assets of its own worth mentioning. It owns a little peaking power earth-filled dam up at Packwood, and it has this lease on the end reactor. What it does, it signs agreements with all these PUDs, Seattle Power and Light, of course they're backing out on it now, Tacoma Power and Light, and they tie up their revenue and issue these bonds. And then they have so far been able to have a guarantee from Bonneville, which means that the taxpayers would ultimately get stuck. If all these nuclear reactors, $8 billion worth, are built, and we don't need the power, or they're because of a catastrophic accident, they all have to be shut down, what means they're going to raise your and my rates probably 8, 10, 20 times in order to pay for these monstrosities that we've been built around in other places.
We're here on Main Street in Elma, Washington, and we'll be talking with Doug, who has been canvassing this town today to give people information about this nuclear project and to hopefully change some of their minds. How's it going, Doug?
Oh, pretty well. We're having some fun and meeting some people and talking with the community.
What kinds of reactions are you getting to your canvassing?
Well, we're getting mixed reactions. We're getting some no's, of course, and some not hostile but negative reaction, but we're also getting some very positive reaction, too. Seems to be a strong current here accepting the anti-nuclear information, and there seems to be a strong current in Elma against the plant.
Do you think these people have a sense that they could possibly stop this plant?
There's, along with even the people that are very supportive of our moves against the plant, is a sort of an attitude of resignation, and they feel that they're stuck with it. They feel that they're pretty powerless.
What do you think a canvasser can do to convince someone that they have the power to make changes?
Well, we've been mentioning to them that we're here to have a legal demonstration, and that we feel that grassroots support can have an effect on the outcome of the situation.
And are any of them going to be coming down to the demonstration, do you think?
Yes, we've had a few people say, "I'll see you tomorrow."
Like the many others around the United States that same weekend, the demonstration at Satsop, June 24th to 25th, was organized by affinity groups and governed by consensus. In affinity groups, 8 to 15 people hash out all of the basic decisions necessary for the action. They must agree, or at least consent, to each proposal. Training sessions are offered to the groups, in which communications and decision-making techniques are explored. Handbooks are provided which outline procedures. Everyone planning to do civil disobedience must be trained in this way. Role-playing and the exploration of feelings are essential to this process to ensure that there will be no violence in the final action.
Then we have to have some kind of process that's really going to allow ourselves to make a quick decision.
Affinity groups take responsibility for one another, both in civil disobedience actions and as a support structure. Each is identified by a name and a flag or sign. This shared responsibility creates a strong sense of community without losing the identity of the individual. How did you come up with the name?
We came up with women of power. We kept going around thinking, of women in the past that have been powerful and have given us inspiration. We kept, we just kept getting so many names that we couldn't pick one name. So we also want to just, to a positive image, and we understand ourselves as powerful beings, and so we want to, encourage other people to see women as powerful beings.
People who go on the site without the permission of Whoops will be trespassers. And Whoops at any time can say to the police authority, "I want these people removed, they're trespassing." Okay, and you get charged with trespass. The injunction is something else again. It's a contempt of the court if you violate the orders of the injunction. And what the order is, it's very narrow.
The sheriff was very disturbed that he was going to have to pay people time and a half overtime to have extra police out there. And the prosecutor was very disturbed about the court costs that were going to happen. And that's something we should think about. Their point was that who we're mad at isn't the taxpayers in this county, but rather is Whoops. If they don't want to spend money, they don't have to arrest us. And the other thing is that the county commissioners have been talking about presenting a bill to Whoops for all of this.
The spokespeople will come with me and we will discuss an agenda and the decisions that need to be made. And then you'll go back to your affinity group, discuss the decisions that have to be talked about, and we'll come back and make the decisions, okay? When that all has happened, the support people and occupiers will be separated. And the support people will deal with their end of what needs to happen tomorrow, how they can best coordinate support, and the occupiers will deal with those questions that affect them alone, things that will happen on the site.
That Saturday night, final arrangements were made concerning the civil disobedience action planned for the next day. Among the issues discussed was the planting of trees at the Whoops site. Though most agreed that planting trees is a strong symbolic action, some were concerned that shovels would be construed as weapons.
You can make steam in a boiler or by the light of the sun.
The tag says, This balloon was released from the site of the Satsop nuclear power plants at Satsop, Washington. If a radiation leak from the Satsop plant would occur, you might have received a harmful dose of radiation carried by the wind rather than this benign balloon. Please contact us and let us know where you found this balloon. And it has the address of 2 of the crab shell local offices on it.
I feel this demonstration should give a good view of us and how we feel about it.
Are you from Elma also?
No, I'm from Montesino.
Uh-huh. Great.
There's a lot of other ways to get power. Dams and solar energy they're still working on. There's a lot of other ways to get power.
Do you learn any of this stuff in school?
Yeah, a lot.
What kinds of things are you studying?
Well, just before we left, we were studying about solar energy, and they haven't quite figured out how that's going to work, but I feel that they will. It's a lot better than this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Want a balloon?
Hi, this is Mr. Spaulding, whose farm this activity is taking place on today. Mr. Spaulding, how do you feel about all this activity?
I think it's great.
What is your name, please?
Quentin Boyer.
And ma'am?
Phyllis Boyer.
Hi. You're from Elma?
Yes.
What brings you out here today?
Well, I'm against nuclear power.
Uh-huh.
My wife's against it. We've lived here all our life, and we hate to see what's happening in eastern Grays Harbor County.
What is your occupation, sir?
I work for the city. Run the sewer plant.
So you have a pretty good sense of groundwater, I imagine.
Yes.
What do you think of the groundwater problems here at
Well, they've got a lot of problems. Last year, the Chehalis River for about 6 months was below the flow where they could empty into it over here at that nuclear plant. And they're going ahead and build anyway.
How do you mean that? They're below the flow?
Well, they can only empty their water into it when that Chehalis flows at a certain rate. We had a very dry summer last year, and it dropped below that rate.
What about all the water they'll be pumping out to fill up the plant?
I'm afraid that is going to about destroy our fish runs. It's going to go down, and the radioactivity will get into the clams and the oysters down in the harbor. I think it's going to ruin this whole area.
What do your friends in Elma feel? How is the opinion running?
Well, the whole city crew is 100% against it.
Really?
Yes. And just about anybody that isn't in it and making a dollar is against it. The only ones for it are the ones that are making money.
Is that what most people seem to think?
Yes.
Well, do people have a feeling that they can do something about this, that there's a way to stop it?
Well, there's a kind of hopeless feeling because old Dixie Lee, our governor, is a nuke pusher, and she's right in the pocket of the nuke people and big industry and the oil people. She appointed Larry Bradley to the Department of Energy, and he's an AEC man, so they're just stacking the deck against us. So it's going to take something like this to do it. It's going to take the local people to rise up.
Really?
So the politicians will listen.
How do the local people react to all this inflow of demonstrators?
The people against the plant really welcome them. The only word I've heard against them is people who work over here and are making money off of it.
Do these people make a lot of money?
Yes, they make big money. And that is bad in a way because it upsets the balance. You have your ordinary worker making his ordinary wage. You have your people on fixed incomes, and then they come in, and money over here is no object to the nuke plant. They're just pouring money out like it was water.
What do you think is going to be the way that people are going to get together and be able to stop this?
Just like this.
More and more?
More and more.
Great.
They're going to have to get together all over the United States and raise up and be heard.
What do you folks think about civil disobedience?
You mean violence?
No, civil disobedience, peaceful.
Oh, I'm for it. I'm for it. You got to do something. We have, the little guys got no say anymore. They tell you what to do. Like I went to a hearing, one of these hearings, the nuke plant people said, you tell us what you think, and then we'll tell you what we're going to do. So where does that leave you?
Are there any townspeople who are going to be doing civil disobedience that you know of? Or most of these people out-of-towners?
You mean the march and the parade?
The people who are going to be going on the site?
No, I think they'll all be trained people from out of town. Because I don't think anyone here that I know of is trained in what to do.
Do you think that if there had been training sessions advertised in town that you might have gotten some townspeople to do that?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
This is so new to us that a lot of people even kind of bashful or afraid to come out.
I never met such a nice bunch of people in my life. Last night, going up and down the road, these nuke guys were with their trucks racing up and down the road, cussing these people out here, call them a long-haired bunch of lazy hippies. I never met such a nice bunch of people.
I want to say the same thing. I'm known as a short-haired redneck, and I'm out here with all these people, and I never seen such a bunch of nice of people. I was here way into the night with them, and you couldn't find any better people.
Demonstrating against the Satsop plant or against nuclear power. We're going to try to turn society around and to get away from these big thermal generating plants and turn it around to not wasting energy, to energy conservation, and to better use of solar power. And we've got to keep doing that. So I want to ask all of you here, keep on. Try to infiltrate, if you like, the rest of society. Try to get to the people who aren't here. I ask my friends who don't come to demonstrations, does that mean if you don't demonstrate against Trident, does that mean that you approve of Trident? If you don't demonstrate against Satsop, does that mean you want Satsop? If you don't, get up and say so. And I hope that next year, when you have this demonstration, there are 3 times as many people here as there are here now. Everybody bring 2 friends.
The fight that you are engaged in is a fight for the children of today and the children for 10,000 generations. You cannot afford to lose this fight, because I assure you that if 2,000 nuclear reactors are clamped upon this country, there will be some kind of a fascist dictatorship clamped right with it. And we don't want that to happen.
It is a night to go to Satsop, sitting on the nuclear plant, but they keep on trying to do it, so we got to say they can't. It isn't nice, it isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice. Well, thank you, buddy, for your advice, but if that's freedom's price, we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind. No, 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 we don't mind.
You know, I used to be a pretty happy cow. Me and my friends grazed together in Gray's Harbor. Because the word is, some folks got plans to build a nuclear power plant at Satsop, and we are very afraid we're gonna end up with contaminated milk. And if anything bad leaks out of that plant, it's bound to end up in one of my 4 stomachs. And that means you're going to be drinking it. Down here we like to say, chew cud, not crud. Who needs radioactive milk? Have you ever heard of anything so utterly ridiculous? Thank you. Anything will help, Bob.
getting to the site and seeing what exactly they'd done to it. It's how badly torn up it was, and just brought back that if they can't even keep the place ecologically sound, you know, it's just so badly torn up that how could they put in 2 reactors and do it right? And it wasn't really a hide for me, it was just a real realization.
All right, now, the Cowboys will come in on stage left. Just a little bit more, that's right. Back that way to the bus. Go, come on.
Sheriff Sumter, first of all, that how we would handle it. There'd be no tricks, no nothing. You're up here for the purpose of your demonstration, and I'm up here because I have to be. I have to enforce the law, and the violation is trespass. Okay, so what will be done, contrary, a little bit different than we do that I read about and intelligence tells us and whatever. First of all, there'll be no tricks. You will have your day in court. I will see to that by the citations that are being written. They're arrest citations.
Can't kill the spirit. It's like a mountain. Old and strong, it goes on and on.
You know, everybody, we're going to stop this nuclear power thing.
No,
they're never
yeah.
going to build this plant here. No matter
That's
how many
right,
times
for
we have to
sure.
go back, it's going to happen because it's dangerous,
No
and
nukes
it's
is good
uneconomical, it's not good for people.
Right on.
We've got to stop it
Waste
now.
a lot of taxpayers' money,
No
spend
nukes.
10 times the amount on electricity and give it to the bankers and the
We
fat
should be
cats.
educating.
Without admitting guilt, I promise to appear on the above titled court. What else should we do? That's why I'm here. Take it to court.
Well.
Take it everywhere I can.
Okay, would you step on the bus, please?
People on the bus say no more nukes. Who are you from? No more nukes. No more nukes. The people on the bus say no more nukes. All around the world. People on the bus say no more subs. No more subs. No more subs. The people on the bus say no more subs. All around the world.
While the sheriff was busy with the first arrests, other affinity groups planted trees in the reactor excavation.
How about all of us? Everybody. How about we stay here? I'd like to go up on that hill.
51 of the demonstrators made the arrests difficult by climbing a steep hill and setting up camp. For those who went directly to the fairgrounds, support was waiting. But keeping to the concept of solidarity, the demonstrators refused to be booked until everyone was off the site. This was decided through what seemed like endless meetings. Meanwhile, everyone did what they could to pass the time: volleyball with a wadded-up sweater and group massage. Eventually, the demonstrators were processed, when at 1:30 a.m., the last of the buses arrived. The effect of the Satsop Reclamation on the Whoops plant will only be known after the trials for trespass, trials which for the first time will be done by Affinity Group. Beyond that is the hope that peaceful demonstrations such as these will attract more and more people in the future.
Bear with me, because we got everything finally, I think, organized. Thank you. Good news, Sheriff.
Bravo. You can make steam in a boiler or by the light of the sun. But making steam in a nuclear plant is like killing a fly with a gun. Shooting a fly with a gun, and the gun costs $1 billion or $2 billion. If the gun gets hot or the shooter gets shot, then the whole damn world is down the flue.